So let's get straight into the first slide, which is basically showing us the breakup of GDP into two important vectors. One is private consumption expenditure, which is shown in the red bar, and the other is the gross fixed capital formation. You can also call it, the movement of capex in the country. As you can see, over the last couple of quarters, we've seen an improvement in private consumption. At the same time, we have seen a deceleration in capex or gross fixed capital formation. All of us are aware of the fact that most governments around the country have become populist. There are more and more of these welfare schemes that are being rolled out by state governments. At the aggregate level, obviously, this is leading to a very big figure put together collectively, and therefore there will be an implication of this on overall consumption, a positive implication of this on overall consumption in the country. At the same time, what's also happening is that governments, because they also have to control their fiscal deficits, are actually looking at cutting down on capex over time. And that is going to have consequences on capex growth. So in a way, expect consumption trends to be stronger over the coming quarters and capex trends to be slightly weaker over the coming quarters. Yeah, next. We all keep talking about the valuations of the Indian market, whether markets are expensive, cheap, while we will go through some of these charts in terms of their, the usual charts around price earnings multiple for large caps, mid caps, and small caps. But we thought this time, let's also see what the valuations of India are in context of where we have been vis-a-vis our GDP or our proportion of global GDP. So the blue line here is basically India's share of global GDP. We are tracking this number from 2003, so almost 20 years of data. The red line is basically India's proportion of world market cap, again from the same time period. Whenever the red line jumps over the blue line, these are phases when the Indian markets become expensive in context of global markets. Whenever the red line slips below the blue line, these are phases when you can say that India is relatively cheap compared to the world markets. As you can clearly see on the right-hand side, the red line has once again jumped and crossed over the blue line to go above it, which is a sign that the Indian markets certainly are looking expensive compared to where the other global markets are. So this is just another data point, another way to establish the fact that are we cheap, are we fair valued, are we expensive? And this data point is clearly showing that yes, we are an expensive market today.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.